Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand at the start of what is a massive week for Manchester United. I tell you what, I was watching some old football last night on a bit Champions League run of Manchester United back in '99, and it just got me so excited about this Europa League final we've got on Wednesday and the possibilities of... It's a big game, it's not what we want to win the Premier League, we want to win the Champions League, but it's still a big final. I remember the final against Ajax a few years ago under Mourinho. It's a massive moment for Manchester United to end what's been a very mixed season, I think. To end it with, I'm so excited about it, and we'll be building up for that. We've got the preview coming up for you early this afternoon, and lots of content. We'll be over in Gdansk as well, as you know. But look, European leagues have finished over the season, just like the Premier League. The Spanish League is over. Atletico Madrid won that. Lille won the French League. Juventus did make it into the top four. We've got updates on Koundé, Varane, Sancho, and a centre defensive midfielder, amongst other things to discuss this morning. So make sure you smash a like and get involved. Also, just for a bit of fun, it's not up yet if you're watching live, but if you aren't watching live, from 10:30 this morning, my Premier League predictions reaction. So reacting to my Premier League predictions on the top four, goal scorer, player of the year. Some of it I was right, some of it I was terrible, so it's well worth a watch. But let's start off. David Ornstein, good journalist in the UK, he's been talking about Arsenal and Koundé, which leads nicely into Manchester United and Jules Koundé. Basically, David Ornstein saying that Koundé is open to leaving Sevilla this summer, but he will want Champions League football. £50 million is the price being mentioned, and I think that in many ways it's a lot of ticks for Manchester United, isn't it? I like Koundé. I know some people worry about his height, 5'10". That doesn't worry me. He's quick. He's going to the Euros. Some good French centre backs are not going. Upamecano's not going, is he? I don't know why. I don't know whether he's injured or whatever. But Koundé is going to the Euros as part of that French squad, and very, very highly considered young, early 20s centre back that Manchester United should be looking at. I think if United get Varane or Koundé, I don't think there's many complaints from me. I think that's the quality of centre-back that we need. Both of them are quick, and both of them, I think are and is the quality centre-back. So that's what United should be looking at. I'll talk about Varane and Sancho in a minute. But Jules Koundé, £50 million, I think that's the way to go. That is the way to go with Koundé. Well, whether he comes to United or not, I don't think £50 million is inflated. I don't think it's over the top. I think he is a £50 million centre-back. You look at what Man City paid for Ruben Diaz a year ago. Was that not £60-70 million? Coming in from the Portuguese league. Look, Ruben Diaz is amazing. He's one of the best players in the world this season. But Man City didn't know that a year ago. We didn't know that a year ago. And I think 50 million is the right price for Koundé. So let's see what happens with that. I certainly think United need to be focused on Koundé or Varane. And 50 million, according to David Ornstein. Apparently Arsenal are interested, but Koundé will want Champions League football. It doesn't matter whether he wants a Europa League football or Conference League football or whatever football. He wouldn't get it at Arsenal. So, United don't need to worry about teams like that. But we've got to be in the race to get him. And as I've said, I think forget the Glazers out movement, and don't forget the Glazers out movement, but this is not what I'm about to say isn't really to do with that. Whether the Glazers are going to leave, reform, all those things do need to happen. But the reality is, how do we improve this United side from what's the one we've got in front of us to one next season? We need a top quality centre back, and that top quality centre back needs to be Koundé or Varane. Napoli didn't make top four. Could Koulibaly come onto the agenda? I don't know, but that sort of a quality centre-back is what United need. You don't drop down to Tyrone Mings, Ben White, maybe even a Pau Torres. I still think Koundé and Varane are clear of that. I can see Ollie penciling in Bay for the final because he's playing his old team, Villarreal, says Kyle. Well, we'll talk about that this afternoon on the preview, but very excited about that one. Varane. And just on yesterday, just before I talk about Varane and Sancho, let me just say, look, I think Chelsea will get Declan Rice, and I think Declan Rice wants to go to Chelsea. But Declan Rice isn't the only good centre defensive midfielder out there. There are plenty. There's a centre defensive midfielder, the lad we were talking about from Monaco, that Chelsea have been looking at as well. So there are plenty of centre defensive midfielders out there. But what we saw yesterday, without a shadow of a doubt, and we saw it in the first half against Leicester as well, when Matic played with a specialist centre defensive midfielder, it allows you to put a Donny van de Beek next to them or a Paul Pogba next to them who can express themselves. They will support Matic, but Matic will run the midfield on his own. Now, remember a year ago when we went into lockdown, we weren't in the top four, and then we finished the season in the semi-final of the Europa League and we got into top four comfortably. That was because of Matic and Pogba with Bruno ahead of them. This is so important, absolutely imperative that we have a CDM who can play the role on his own. Matic can't do it anymore because he hasn't got the legs to do it. But when he does give those cameos every now and again, you really do see the difference between a Matic and a McFred. With McFred, we use two players to do one person's job, and that means we can't play Pogba in the midfield, we can't play Donny in the midfield. When you play Matic, he's one person doing McFred's job. And then that means that you can put Pogba next to him, or you can put Van der Beek next to him. And we saw yesterday, Van der Beek put in a man-of-the-match performance. But also it's about pulling Pogba back there. We must sign a centre defensive midfielder. We've seen it twice now in the last couple of weeks, that when Matic plays as a specialist CDM, that team looks better. He patrols in front of the back four, and he gives that player next to him that freedom to go forward a little bit more. It's so important, and United have to do that. Koundé's physicality is an issue, considering we are poor at set pieces. Varane must be our priority, says Pratik. That's a good point from Pratik. I wouldn't disagree with you on that. What are Arsenal doing with Koundé? Joke club. By the way, James and Mata are not better than Bruno, Mason, Rashi, says Wet Salmon. I think a lot of people watched Ricky's reaction yesterday, didn't they? I didn't watch it. I haven't watched Beth's, and I haven't watched Flex's, and I didn't watch the fan forum. And I apologise. I normally watch all of them, but I was just tired last night, and I just went and watched the film. But if Ricky said that Mata was better than Bruno, and I don't know whether he did or he didn't, if he did say that, then I totally disagree. But Ricky's very consistent in his loyalty towards people like Mata and Marshall and James, and that, you know, it's down to opinion, isn't it? But you know, Bruno Fernandes has been one of the players of the year for me, and that's away from Manchester United. So you know, I think, look, to be honest with you, Man United have got 5 players that are clear of everybody else. Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba, Edinson Cavani, David De Gea. I think this season and Marcus Rashford when he's been fit, those 6 players have been, you know, bordering on, you know, sort of world top class players. I know Rashford's been a bit up and down, but I would add him to that category, and obviously I would add in Mason Greenwood as the generational talent. So we've got 6 or 7 top quality players. I think people like Wan-Bissaka and Harry Maguire can knock on the door of that, but we need 3 or 4 more. So you know, I wouldn't even put Mata, Matic, Marshall or James anywhere near that group of players at the moment. But you know, Martial would be in that category with Maguire and Wan-Bissaka, where he can be there. But you know, next season's big for those. But we need to add 3 or 4 players into this team. We already know that. Talking of which, let's talk about Varane. Still very strong indications from Spain that Varane is going to leave Real Madrid. Obviously, the season is over now. Varane's going to be in a situation where he's got a year left on his contract, like Paul Pogba. He can wait a year and run his contract down, and he might want to do that. Just because Varane's not going to sign a new contract doesn't mean he's going to leave. But Real Madrid may force the issue with that, I don't know. United need to be at the front of the queue, and Pratik is absolutely spot on. Do I want Koundé? Yes. Would I prefer Varane? Yes. Because I think with Varane you get the experience, you get the mentality that he would come in and he'd be better than Maguire because of what he's achieved in his career. He'd be a more senior pro than Maguire, which is scary because Maguire is a senior pro in the team. So that just makes us even stronger. He's tall, he's good in the air, and he's quick and he's good on the ball. So I think Varane is the superior choice. And at 28, you know, do you want Koundé, who's a work in progress, or do you want to just bring in a ready-made player? And I think, you know, United do like to bring in work in progress players, but ready-made players, especially at the price that Varane would be available, you'd probably get Varane for the same price as a Koundé. But the most important thing is that you get a centre-back of that calibre in. And I think it's going to be very hard for United to get Varane, by the way. But we've got to be in that. We've got to be in that. Yesterday proved that Hannibal, Ahmed and Alanga are well scouted. The scouting network isn't the problem. It's the greedy board. On the centre-back situation, we need somebody who is capable of defending set pieces, says DK. We are terrible at defending set pieces, DK. I absolutely agree with you. Even yesterday, these crosses come in and it is a joke. And you would wonder about Koundé for that. But look, just because he's 5'10" doesn't mean he's not going to be physically good enough. Cannavaro wasn't particularly big. Poyel wasn't very particularly big. It's about your leap. It's about your strength. So those things. I understand why people would be concerned about Koundé, but you can't write a centre back off just because they're under 6 foot. I mean, if they're under 5'6", I'd worry, but just because they're under 6 foot doesn't mean that they're not good enough. So yeah, Koundé's price 50 million. Varane, very much still a strong feeling that Varane is going to leave Real Madrid, and of course Zidane might be leaving Real Madrid as well, so that could cause some disruption. Alaba, as Romano has said, is still going to go to Real Madrid regardless of what happens there. We don't know what's going to happen with Ramos as well. And this feeds into Sancho. I actually, I'm going to put my hands up here and say that we've had a really wet. I mean, it's almost like Marty Pello's singing in my garden every day because, look it up. It's raining all the time, but actually it's stopped raining today, and it's going to get a little bit warmer, and next week it's going to be even warmer, and the week after that the Euros kick in, and the transfer window is starting, and you've got the Europa League final on Wednesday and the Champions League final on Saturday, and suddenly there's those summer vibes coming back, and crowds are starting to come back into the grounds. Optimism is starting to grow, and I hope that that's going to spread around the world, because I know other countries are not in that situation at the moment and they're struggling, and our thoughts and prayers are with those, but the UK at the moment, fingers crossed, things are moving forward, and in a football sense that makes me feel more optimistic as well. Can we have a good transfer window? Are we going to get an exciting Euros? Europa League final on Wednesday as well, so there's lots and hope and optimism there, but the one thing I was going to say is that there is a very short gap between the end of this season and the Europa League, and I almost wish there was another week, because I do think it's been relentless. Football over the last year has been relentless. If you think a year ago we were in lockdown, we hadn't even finished last season. We didn't finish last season until the start of August, and then we were back to start a new season in September. It's been relentless, and we're now going into the Euros, and I hope that the Euros can deliver, and I think it's a good idea that they're allowed to have a bigger squad. I think it's 26 in the squad instead of 22. But basically, the Euros kicks off 2 weeks on Saturday. So 3 weeks basically is all players have got. They've got this week, next week and the week after. And from next week, international friendlies start. So very, very quick turnaround for some of these players. As Ricardo says, it's been relentless. But how does this fit in for transfers? Well, there's a report from Germany this morning that Sancho will not be signing for anybody before the Euros, because it's felt that Dortmund want to take their time on it, and also there's very little time between the end of the season and the start of the Euros to sit down and thrash out a deal. So the feeling is that Sancho won't happen till after the Euros. Now, if Sancho has a good Euros, that could boost his price. But I think that's gonna be the same for everybody. Not just Jadon Sancho. Probably the same for Koundé. He's going to be with the French squad. Varane's going to be with the French squad. Pau Torres will be with the Spanish squad, I believe. Declan Rice will be with the England squad. And I'm not saying we're signing all those players, but a lot of players are going to be going into Euro camps pretty much from next weekend. I think a lot of players have got this week off, unless you're playing in the Champions League final or you're playing in the Europa League final. But if you're Jadon Sancho, the German league is over, isn't it? So he's got a week off, and it's going to be interesting in that sense. And because of the world we've been in recently, it's really difficult to sort of remember what things have been like. But correct me if I'm wrong, but I think with the Euros 3 years ago, we had the World Cup, didn't we? Now, it seems a long time ago. Do you get a lot of transfers over a major tournament? And what I remember of major tournaments, whether it's the World Cup or the Euros, and I remember the Euros was when we bought Pogba, wasn't it? The last Euros, was that 5 years ago? Am I missing a year here? Is it 5 years since we bought Paul Pogba and Zlatan, and they were in the Euros? So my recollection is that it's very difficult to. Bissouma's not going to be in the Euros, is he? We could buy him. It's going to, and the same situation with Paul Pogba leaving as well, Tim. It was 5 years since we bought Paul Pogba, and it's 5 years since the last Euros. Now, my recollection of that is, and look, I'll be doing Euros watch-alongs on That's Football. The link's in the video description for my video reacting to Premier League reactions, which I'll talk about in a minute. And that's the video, that's the channel. So make sure you subscribe to that and get involved. You go into a bubble. You go into a bubble for a major tournament. You dust off your England top or your France top or something. You start watching these international teams you'd never watch in your bloody life at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's Macedonia against Qatar, even though that can't happen in the Euros. You'd still watch it. We go into a bubble, and as fans, we're going to go into a bubble, but the club can't go into a bubble, because if you write off the 12th of June to the 12th of July. Well, it's only another month, and the Premier League season starts after that, and you've got a lot of business to try and do in that month, and a lot of these players will then go on a well-deserved holiday in July. If I'm Paul Pogba, or I'm Jadon Sancho, or I'm Declan Rice, or I'm Raphael Varane, I'm going to go and play for my team in the Euros, and when we get knocked out, I'm going to go away for 2 weeks and I'm going to switch my phone off because I'm going to be exhausted. So a lot of these deals, I don't think they're going to be able to get done until the end of July unless United are on it. And as Romano sort of hinted on Friday, United are very reactionary. They keep their options open and they're like, oh, what's happening here? What's happening there? And I think that doesn't help us. I think we've got to be on the front foot in this transfer window because there's a huge amount of things to do. We've spoken about Koundé there. We've spoken about the need for a centre defensive midfielder. We've spoken about Pogba. We've spoken about Sancho. But if I say to you, we need a centre back, a right winger, a CDM. That's the 3 core positions we need. But we might also get a backup right back. Then you've got the goalkeeper situation to resolve. You've got things like Paul Pogba to resolve. You're up to 6 already. What if Martial wants to go? That could be 7. Matic and Mata, 8, 9. Pereira and Dalot, 11. And that's just off the top of my head. There will be more things to resolve as well. So lots and lots and lots of things for Manchester United to sort out this summer. And I think that we've got to be on the front foot, and we've got to go into this transfer window. And look, if you could use that first 10 days of June before the Euros kicks off to do a deal, well, at least you've done a deal. But I expect that won't happen. And also, let's not forget, this is not the Ed Woodward summer. There is a CEO, whoever it's going to be, but there is also a restructuring of a director of football and a sporting director. You cannot appoint people into these positions and then continue doing what you've always done. I think that's what will happen because that's what the Glazers want to happen. But this is a big, big summer and Jesse Lingard as well. I forgot about Lingard, Ricardo. There are others as well. Phil Jones, maybe. So I think that United need to, if they have got a director of football new role and they have got a sporting director new role, then we need to see some new impetus in relation to what we're going to do this summer. And Basuma's a very good point. I think Basuma is a player that would improve Manchester United's midfield massively. You think about yesterday, take Matic out of the team and put Basuma where Matic was. I still think that team would have run that midfield. Matic and Van der Beek run that midfield yesterday. I think Basuma and Van der Beek would have done the same thing. So Basuma's a good deal for Manchester United. And we're not involved. Romano said it on Friday. At the moment, United aren't even touching base on Basuma. Arsenal are even looking at other options. So that deal could be done and done very quickly. And Brighton, if you knock on the door of Brighton and say, hey up Brighton, I like Basuma, 35 million, and you can have James Garner for a year on loan. They'll do it because James Garner needs to be in the Premier League on loan next season. So there are options, but we've got to get on the front foot. My concern with United is that everybody you ever speak to is that United are a mess behind closed doors, and they're unorganised and nobody knows what's going on. Even players don't know what's going on. There's certain players that thought they were going on loan that have been deprived of loan and then haven't been used in the first team. Lots of uncertainty in that football club, and that breeds through the football club. And we had Romano on the show on Friday. Obviously, I speak to quite a lot of journalists, and also I speak to people like who are quite close to the club on a regular basis. And the transfer story, and Romano sort of hinted it on Friday anyway, and many other people have said this, is that United don't have their targets yet. Jadon Sancho is a target, but he might not be a target for long. If they lose that battle, they might wander off down another road. It said like United are like a car without a sat nav. They head to a journey, but they sort of wing it. Oh, we're driving from London to Leeds. We could go up the M6 and find our way that way, or we could go down up the M1 that way. I tell you what, let's just go where we feel and let's find out where we go. And I think that's how United approach a transfer window. We quite like Varane, but we might end up at Stoke. That's how we've traditionally been under the Glazers with transfer windows. We're not ruthless and we're not aggressive. We're not ruthless in removing the deadwood, and we're not aggressive in bringing in the right players. If this was, and the best example I could give you is if this was Chelsea's transfer window, what they would do is they would go into this transfer window with, we want Declan Rice, we want Jadon Sancho, and we want Varane. That's what we want. That's what we're going to get, and we're going to get it as quick as we can, and we're going to clear out the deadwood. That's what Man City and Chelsea would, and probably Liverpool would do. But United wander into it going, oh, it's like walking into a big sweet shop. Oh, look at those curly whirlies. Oh, look at that midget gems and the wine gums and the pastels. Oh, it's all great. Are you buying anything? Well, not today. But what a lovely array of sweets you've got. And United need to get picking and get moving very, very quickly. And we saw again yesterday as well, didn't we, that People talk about Amad Diallo. He can only get better. 18 years of age, playing as a false nine in a Premier League game, and he did it really, really well. He'll get better. Alanga, potential there as well. Hannibal, we know about the pretension he's got. Shoretire. There's plenty of young players coming through United's side, but the reality is they aren't going to get many options. Those players need... Look at what Sir Alex Ferguson did in 1995. Bye-bye Mark Hughes, bye-bye Paul Ince, bye-bye Kanchelskis. We went with the class of 92. Built for the future. Ollie needs to have that mentality. You cannot just have Alanga coming on for a couple of games, starting a game and scoring a goal. Shoretire a little bit of a glimpse. Amad plays a Premier League game away from home again in front of 10,000 fans in a game Wolves are hungry to win and is fantastic. These players need to be able to be getting 10, 20 minutes quite regularly. And they're never going to do that when Ollie's automatically got to put Dan James on the bench, Juan Mata on the bench, Nemanja Matic on the bench, Jesse Lingard on the bench. These players need to be moved out so that these young players can come in. And if a couple of them go on loan, then you keep a couple of those players I've just mentioned. But next season, Amad Diallo needs to be consistently on the bench. I would say that one of Hannibal, Shoretire or Alanga needs to be consistently on the bench and two of them go on loan. That's what we need to do. So ruthlessness around the deadwood's very important as well. But send Diallo to Dortmund. Look, I wouldn't send Diallo on loan. I think he's good enough to get minutes with the first team, but I probably would send Alanga on loan, and I probably would send... But then again, you want to develop them properly. I personally would sell Dan James. I would sell Dan James because I think at the end of the day, it's very clear that Alanga, Hannibal, Shoretire, Diallo are better footballers than Dan James. Maybe not yet, but they've got their ability has got a higher trajectory. So I would cash in on Dan James because next season, if you don't, he's going to be taking a bench spot that one of those players could be taking. So that's the ruthlessness. The aggression is... Look, the year I'm very excited about. I can't tell you how excited I am about the Europa League final, but I'm very excited about the Euros. I'm very excited about next season. But amongst all that, if I was at United now, I'd be walking in today, freshly polished shoes, nice suit, shirt and tie, clean, fresh, haircut, the lot. I'd be going into work today, going right. The next 2 months are ours. The next 2 months are ours. What's the order of business? Centre back, Sancho. Centre defensive midfielder, move these players out. We're going to work. It's going to be relentless. I'll be excited, enthused, aggressive, ruthless. Let's get this done. Let's sort this goalkeeper situation out. Let's see what's happening with Jesse. Let's move some of this deadwood out. Let's bring these players in. Let's go into next season with our manager, no excuses to take us to the next level. Let's go and do this. Let's deliver the team we need to. And you know what? What an opportunity it is as well. It's not a hard job. It's a challenging job. This is your money. This is your deadwood. Remove that deadwood, create money to help this bit, remove this deadwood, reduce the wage bill down. We've got good young players coming through. I need 3 quality players. I need a centre-back, a centre defensive midfielder and a right winger. But I can remove 6 or 7 players. It's all about being aggressive and having that mentality to be ruthless because the money you're going to save, Mata, 140k, Dan James, probably 80k, Matic, probably 120k. Lingard 100k, Phil Jones 100k, Delo probably 60, 70k, Pereira 60, 70k, Romero's going to come off the wage bill as well, 80k. You're getting close between £500,000 and £1 million a month in wages that you can remove. Well, you're going to do very well to bring 3 players in that are going to be more than that. So it's such a good opportunity for United if they are efficient and they use this transfer window well. But look, we'll just have to wait and see what happens with it. But I'm very excited about it. So Koundé, 50 million is the price that appears to be the fee to get him. Varane looking to leave Real Madrid still, which is a positive. United must get in a race for a centre defensive midfielder, and we saw that yesterday. You put a CDM there, that means you can play Pogba or Van der Beek next to them. And look, anybody who said that Van der Beek can't play in the pivot has been sat down now. I know he can play at number 10, but I think Van der Beek in a box-to-box role, That's his best position because he reads the game so well. He always wants the ball. And I think he's too far forward as a number 10. I think he's a box-to-box player in the Premier League. Maybe he wasn't that at Ajax, but he is that at Man United. That's how he's going to be successful if he's going to be successful. We need a CDM, though, to allow him and Pogba to play in the midfield and battle it out for that role. And Sancho, look, I don't think Sancho's going to happen before the Euros. I'd be very impressed if that did, but I think this is a deal for July. And I think unfortunately, with Sancho, it's going to drag. And that's for me why 90% Club cannot be resurrected, because it's going to be until he holds up the shirt, I won't believe it. United stand statement help 50+1 before Parliament debates, as Mickey R1. I don't know what you're talking about. We've got the petition. I don't know what you mean. Please smash a like on the video, by the way. We're nearly at 1,000 likes. And we will be live again today, just before 2 o'clock, with a preview of the Europa League. I'm so excited. I've got butterflies. It's really, really exciting. But look, it's now the time. I said at 10:30 it would go up. I've dropped the link in the video description. You've got to watch this video. It's my reaction to my Premier League predictions that I did a year ago. The Premier League season is over now. But at the start of the season, I did a Premier League prediction show on the top 4, Player of the Year, top goal scorer, who'd get relegated, surprise package. I recorded it this morning. It's well worth a watch. All I can say is, oh my God. But look, I'm all for, revisiting these sort of things. Check it out. Links in the video description. I'll see you again at 2 o'clock. But please do check this video on the video description. I think you're going to enjoy it for 10 minutes. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll speak to you all in a bit.